r/showerthoughts. Ready Substance 9920 says, what if everyone stopped tipping? Would it force business to actually pay their employees? Sydney Haven says, isn't this how it is in countries outside the US? Vic Hedges says, in Ontario, Canada, they recently altered the laws so that servers can no longer be paid a lower wage. Tipping culture has not changed one iota. Papa Pete says, somehow it has gotten worse in the past few years. The wages went up and so did the total restaurant bill, but also the percent expected from the tip, from 10 to 15 to 15 to 20. Zank the Great says, they did it in Germany. Worked fine there. The tip is at most just a round up, so if your bill is 18, round up to 20, and they'll be happy. It helps cause they're actually paid a semi-livable wage. Johan 1010 says, interesting choice of currency. Bridgerman says, what, you never heard of German pounds? Shuttland says, the change would probably take longer than the waitress's ability to pay rent. And Threhan says, the law is that if tips do not bring a sever up to minimum wage, the employer has to make up the difference. They make far above minimum wage with tips, which is why servers like the tip system. Is minimum wage good? No, that's a different conversation, but they wouldn't be on $2/HR. Theprashi Angrip says, I'm not making rent on minimum wage. Fatma Juju says, a lot of servers would stop being servers because they'd make less money. Tip money is usually pretty good. Scruffles 360 says, sounds like a short-term problem. Eventually owners would either have to pay up or do without servers somehow. Leah Firegood says, no, I have some server friends who make almost figures. Most bartender friends easily clear 6 figures. They make more as servers than they would with a corporate job. Problem is their wage won't likely ever go up that much beyond that. But it's very much a livable wage. If they made them get a base rate with no tips, they'd probably lose over half their income and go on to corporate jobs or something of that nature. r/showerthoughts. Daydreamer 631 says, the main character in Groundhogs Day is really lucky that he didn't wake up with diarrhea that day. Miv 926 says, imagine shitting all day for 10,000 years days. Ask 92 says, I think it was actually 33 years, 12,000 ish days. Miv 926 says, oh, was it days? I always thought it was years. Mand1 Orion says, ah yes, a quality shit post. Flatulenza Ninja says, that would have been a shitty movie. Petter he says, yeah, Phil had a better wake up than Teal'c when they got stuck in a time loop on SG-1. Iat says, holy shit, that would have been pure torture, but leave to Bill Murray to soldier through a very shitty predicament. I am Waringashut says, I often relate my daily life to Groundhog Day. I rate each day on how good or bad it would be to repeat. States says, pooping back and forth forever. Restless says, the main character has a name, and it is Phil Connors. Godsenxi says, I'd pay to watch Bill Murray doing creative ways with his liquid diarrhea anywhere everywhere. It's gross, but it's Bill Murray. Blacksystemk says, how do you know he didn't have diarrhea? They didn't film him in the restroom. Maybe that was why he was always grumpy. Gin and Toxic says, there's a foreign movie called Naked, where the guy is stuck on a time loop, and every morning he wakes up naked with a condom stuck his ass. Cookie Structure 6991 says, I literally just watched this movie, haha, what timing. Kung Fu Slander says, repeat diarrhea day would be a terrible repeat day. and in Groundhog Day you could kill yourself, not recommended, and just be right back on the John. I'm not sure if that's hell or purgatory. Sounds like a good pharmaceutical commercial. Some angel walks in and gives you an anti-diarrhea/Imodium type deal. Now you can learn to play the piano and make ice sculptures, Bill Murray. r/showerthoughts. Gamer says 50% of people on the road are below average drivers. Way Savage says everything, and I mean everything, can be explained by the normal curve. Big Damza Zero says, and average itself doesn't look that good either, from what I see. Rupcow says, that's not how averages work. Accomplished Gear 527 says, you're assuming a bell-shaped curve. If the curve is not bell-shaped, it could be vastly more or less. Flaminio says, anyone driving slower than me is an idiot. Anyone driving faster is a maniac. Carlin, of course. Scarth says, less than half of people are below average drivers. Arxitus Indeficiency says, 50% of people don't understand percentages. That's almost half. Devilish Advocate says, I drive quite a lot as part of my career. 50% is being conservative. I'd say it's more like 70%. The number of people who don't know how to make a proper left turn outnumbers the number of people who do. When on the expressway, about 75% of the people driving there get stuck in the speeding pack mentality. They all want to do 15 to 20 miles per hour over the speed limit, and they all cluster together and whip around the people doing the speed limit or 5 to 10 miles per hour over. I'm frankly shocked and annoyed by the number of people who speed up and slow down and zip all over the expressway like it's a slalom run. I put my car into cruise control at about 5 miles per hour over the speed limit, and I'll let the idiots pass me. I know I'm going to see them all queued up at the traffic light at the NVF ramp when I get there 32 seconds after they do. I have yet to see a person in a lifted pickup truck on surface roads who doesn't drive like he has a dildo up his ass and a pair of balls dangling in his face while trying to rush to beat everyone to every red light along the way. Many a time I've witnessed a bad pickup truck driver and said he drives like a guy that beats his wife. r/showerthoughts. Bus Phantom says, if you try to fail and succeed, which have you done? Platonist Astronaut says, you have failed at task X, the original thing being attempted, and succeeded at your goal, Y, whatever it took to qualify as having failed X. Two separate things. It's equivocation. Ouroboros says, yep. If you're trying to fail, you're trying to fail at something, so failing would be a success in a higher order array. Try / task / succeed/fail / if your task is specifically fail, though, then you fail no matter what. Try / fail / succeed/fail / Retail Guy again says, project failed successfully. Elegant Arm 4964 says, you're technically doing both, but in different ways. When you try to fail, you succeed in failing. But you also fail in the task that is already in hand. Scott Amuson says, I failed at life, then succeeded, then failed again, so that's where I am. Rabbinital says, I know this is probably some glass half full nonsense, but honestly, in that instance you failed. Failure doesn't mean you are failing at life in general, and doesn't have to be inherently bad. You set out on a goal to fail, and you did not achieve said goal. You did the opposite. Therefore you failed your goal. Failure is part of life, and can lead to good things or good outcomes, based on events that happen, because of our failures or lessons we learned. Failure can sometimes cause success. Minfoot Space says, You can't try to fail, because failing means not managing to do what you tried. Jsbay says, you've succeeded at becoming a politician. Player 5117 says, Osera, task failed incorrectly. Big Murder says, you succeeded at a task, which consisted of failing at another task. Nemiva says, this is exactly a conversation between Morticia and Gomez Adams. Gomez kept trying to be a failure like the rest of his family, but somehow all of his bad investments turned good, like buying crap land only for oil to be found on it, and he got stupid wealthy trying to be a failure, so he was super depressed. Morticia told him that he was a failure at being a failure and Gomez was happy again. r/showerthoughts. Panay says, the higher you are the less likely something is to fall on you. Certain Passion 1630 says, no, you're just so stoned that you don't notice it falling on you. Cherixxbombx says, but the more likely you are to fall on something. It's an lie a few bucks says, I don't know what drugs you are taking, but I can assure you, you have not grown a third eye that scans the skies above your head. /s. Mathematician SC5012 says, so I wonder if you can go so low that there's a 100% chance something will fall on you. Nekaputu says, trust me, smoking a fat blunt does not reduce the likelihood. Kitty Soretta Cute says, that's why I smoke so much weed. Noad9867 says, more likely to be struck by lightning though. Who knew of them says, you have more surface area for rain droplets. Some stoic man says, aren't there those quarks that very rarely interact with anything constantly falling on us, and the higher you go the more likely you are to have one actually interact with you, which is why they do lots of particle tests away underground under huge tanks of water? Tubular Brain Revolt says, but more likely that lightning will hit you. Bluesome 3 says, I don't think this is true. I'd expect being higher up to be correlated with having something above you that might fall, because whatever's getting you that high up is reasonably likely to go further and be getting other things up there too. Count Vlad XXV Thesly says, if I get hit by space debris, did it technically fall on me? Sonic 2005 says, people in this comments. CJM0 says, well, things don't usually fall upwards, so yeah. Infernity Expert says, now wait a minute here. Does this mean that the inverse must also be true? The higher you are, the more likely you'll be the one to fall onto something. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.